Hey there, welcome back to Connect the Dots, the podcast for marketing and sales professionals who want to align strategies for profitable growth. I'm your host, Vicki O'Neill, and this week I spoke with Mark Perone, who is founder of Rethink Revenue, a company that focuses on CRM in a positive way. Curious what that means? Well, Mark will discuss what that means as well as how his company is different. If you're a data or process nerd, you're gonna love this episode. Also, he shares a screen to show a customer journey example, how a marketing funnel works in his system, and how he uses LinkedIn Sales Navigator with his clients. So if you're listening versus watching the video and wanna see those images, I'll include them in the show notes. Now, let's get started with Mark. Hey, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today on the Connect the Dots podcast. I appreciate you being here. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and just dive right in. And if you could, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your business.
So my name is Mark Perone. I am an accidental author and business solution architect with Rethink Revenue. What I do is very unique, I found, in the industry. I actually focus on CRM, but with a positive spin on it rather than the negative one that the whole market seems to be aware of. My kind of claim to fame is breaking down marketing and sales into their respective categories, and then guiding businesses to show how marketing can contribute to sales at stage one, task one in the sales process. The software's I'm software agnostic as far as marketing softwares go, or marketing channels go, or CRM goes, accounting software. I really don't care about any of that. I believe it's the mechanism to just start a conversation on site with a business.
Yes, I agree. And I'm interested in your comment about CRM, the good side of it.
Yeah.
Elaborate a little bit on that and tell us what you mean by that.
So CRM has developed over, it is 2000, has developed over the last 25, 30 years, something like that. And initially it was designed to act as a Rolodex for phone numbers, contact, first name, last name, maybe some account information if you can name the business. As platforms developed, it became almost a weapon for management to monitor the activity of the salespeople. And salespeople generally are kind of creative people who don't like to be boxed in. That's what I found anyways. I'm that type too. Don't micromanage me. You're likely to get a lot out of me if you let me do my own thing.
That'd be me too.
It seems to be a type, right? So
exactly.
What has happened in the last 5 years, I'd say, has been this integrated software solution. And I work really deep in the manufacturing vertical. So IIoT is a big deal. The Internet of Things, so industrial Internet of Things. Mm-hmm. We're in the 4.0 iteration of that. So if you go back and do some research, there's a series of industrial revolutions that have happened, and where we're at right now is really on the software side of things. So related to CRM, what you get now with a software like that is mechanized workflow for people like us that don't want to get mired in mundane day-to-day stuff. So what I do is I go in and I make my customers who turn into clients aware of what's available in the marketplace, and I work on integrated solution sets from all the way out in the marketing channel. And I'll show you my slide here in a second, so you know what I'm pointing at when I'm making these hand gestures.
Okay.
Like in my mind, there's hard areas and very distinct transitions. So I integrate the marketing channel into kind of a lead gen perspective, which lands marketing workflow. The handshake there between marketing and sales happens at stage one, task one in a sales process. which if you subscribe to any of the major like Carnegie or Sandler sales processes, you know that there's like a series of events that should lead to a closed won sale or closed won opportunity in CRM language. Mechanizing that for the salesperson is what I do, not for sales managers. So when I say the good side, CRM implementations are listed at about anywhere from 70 to 90% failure rates on deployment, which is huge. Like what anything fails that much, right?
Yeah.
So the concept of creating or answering the question, why did we even buy the software? Like that's what I do. I go in and I'm like fixing all these problems that sellers of products put in front of customers that purchase and say, let's look at your business processes and align them properly with what the feature set is within the software. Does that make sense?
It does. Yes. And it sounds like you're also getting marketing involved and sales involved at the beginning, and then also throughout the entire process, but maybe at different emphasis levels at that, different intervals.
So I don't know how you want to structure this. Can I show my screen real quick?
If you can, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Makes life so much easier.
Okay.
All right, so this is the framework that I developed. Can you see this screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so this is the framework I developed for the customer journey. All right, so what we should be doing is looking at this from the perspective of the customer interacting with the business that's following this workflow. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so business goes out and targets on a marketing platform and engages the audience in some way, shape, or form. I'm not going to go into any details about the specifics on the platforms, but generally speaking, a customer or potential customer, which is a prospect in CRM language, engages and gives some type of information that they're interested. Well, as that lead travels into the organization, messages might be sent depending on what the potential customer is looking for, right? Well, there's a definite differentiation between the marketing piece and the sales piece. And the way that I frame that is with known. So marketing is helping people that are unknown become familiar with a business. And then as sales gets involved, they should be changing the perspective into a liked sort of orientation. So like, yeah, great, the company's good, but what differentiates them from other companies like them? Well, that's the sales job. Sales should take that opportunity that could be, say, like, let's say, what's something that one of your customers sells? We'll just use an example of your customers.
One of my existing customers sells, say, like skincare treatment.
Okay. So person saw a video on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was a learn more button on the sponsor page. That learn more button sent them to a website, and they were like, oh yeah, I really like that skincare product. I want some more information about it. Put in their information, and we'll say, my radiance wasn't as bright as it should be, so I put in Mark Perone. I'm interested in that skincare product. Well, that would be an opportunity for a salesperson to start to engage with someone who already has knowledge about whatever the product is and the company that's selling the product. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So during this process, you go into, demonstration mode or feature benefits or whatever it would be, and you start to drive them through a progression of stages that ends in a close won opportunity. Well, with mechanization in CRM, if someone is in stage 3, they can actually get a marketing message that's automated through email just by being in that stage with this particular product. You could set up something that said, if they sit in this stage for too long, send them a coupon. That's easily done. So marketing can start to engage on the insights on sales cycle time and either speed it up or start to augment it with different events that might be kicked off from just the story of the customer journey.
Now, at that point, can I ask a question here real quick?
Sure, yeah.
So at that point, if they're in stage 3 and marketing can create an automated message that goes out at that point if they haven't responded or had any type of engagement on previous messages.
Mm-hmm.
Is marketing and sales working together to come up with that messaging for that automated step in the process?
100%. So the combined effort here is consistently looking at the capability of each department. Okay. So sales can go to marketing and say, hey, thanks for bringing that lead in to me. We did really well with the majority of them, but we found that a larger percentage than the rest got hung up here for some reason. We don't really know why. You start a collaboration around it and tailor your messaging set to say, only send this message to this very specific type behavior as it's monitored by the CRM itself. So the salesperson or sales manager can work with the marketing person to start to couple the way business is done there. And what you get is a better customer experience all the way around. Overall, this type approach is actually really, really new, and it's super high level, or used to be super high level enterprise stuff that I personally am bringing down to the solopreneur level, like the single individual that is out there selling. We've developed a system for just a single person to be able to follow that same workflow. You need somebody to help walk you through it in the beginning, just so you understand all the mechanisms that are associated with it. But once you get kind of the concept of it, it turns into something that's like, I really should not have been doing business a different way.
Yeah. And this process and this overall customer journey framework is going to be a little different for a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, obviously, because it's a one-person shop. And they are marketing, they are sales, they are customer service, they are accounting, they're the entire person. So how would this framework change or look differently based on a one-person company compared to a company that's got dedicated employees or dedicated headcounts to each of those departments?
So honestly, it really doesn't. When we get involved with a single individual, you've got to think differently time-wise than the enterprise would. Okay. So where an enterprise could have 7 people working on, developing the mechanisms here, those 7 people would have a deadline of 2 weeks to have all of this built out. Right. Well, if you have a solopreneur, they're going to be leveraging a couple channels probably. They're not going to be leveraging hundreds of channels. But understanding that conceptually you do have marketing as a solopreneur, which is much, much different than opportunity management or sales. Right? So what we do is we look at this in exactly the same perspective, but we break it down a little different so that it's consumable by a single individual. So what I have here is for a solopreneur, you can identify your perfect prospects and then definitely determine who you're going to enter into a CRM mechanism. Again, brand agnostic, don't really care, just need an accounting system for the sales and marketing side of things. And then you start workflows based on the data that you have in your system. So really, if you spend 4 or 5 hours a week mechanizing like this, it turns into something where you categorically can increase or decrease your activity in one area, and at the end, control what you sell. It's not as difficult as it would seem.
Yeah, and it looks like, if I am reading this correctly, that you could also create personas as the leads come through if they don't already have a bucket or a segment for them to go to.
Yeah, so I look at this a little differently when we talk about personas. My deal is I really operate on perfect prospect. And the reason why I use that language is I start with a look back. So I'd rather you not tell me who you want. I'd rather you tell me who your best customer is currently, and then allow me to go out and determine more of those people. So for instance, actually I was just working on this on my last call. So see if I can pull it up. No, I don't have it up. So I'll go on LinkedIn and I'll develop one of those personas that has a number of people within it that are like your current customer. The reason why I do it that way is because you can, first of all, go back and ask them questions about what marketing might look like for them that they'd like, or you can start to see what behaviors were or buying trends. So like, say you sell, lawn decorations or something, and you notice that there's an influx of pumpkin purchases in October. Well, you're going to start to feed that information out to people that could possibly be your customer that are like the ones that you're currently working with. I'm going to see if I can, and this is going to be my raw LinkedIn Sales Navigator when I show this to you, so don't judge me.
And for those who are listening only right now, there are different visual components that Mark is going through. And Mark, will you be able to provide these for me to load on the website for people to view, or is that
100%.
criteria and you want to hold on to it?
Nope, 100%. This is all on my LinkedIn. Well, the other two images were on my LinkedIn.
Okay.
So what I did here for this last call, this is just a call I was on previous to this one, right at 3 o'clock was when that one started. I went on and the guy was telling me he looks for vice presidents of engineering, and I went in and looked at people that are in Ohio, and then I cross-referenced that with people that are active digitally. So someone that's posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. So what I know is that these people probably engage digitally, so I can start my prospecting with view similar. And this is a little nugget of hint, little information. This right here, this button is a huge moneymaker. If this guy right here,
Sales Navigator, once you're looking at the list of I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on, so I'm squinting.
You're okay. So what this is just I have a list of people. That's it. It's got to be a person that you found on Navigator.
Okay.
And then you click the three little dots and you say view profile, or I'm sorry, not view profile, view similar.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody similar to that person who really should be a current customer of yours is going to pop up.
Okay, so view similar, and it'll bring up VPs in Ohio, so with a similar title as that person.
So not necessarily a similar title. It's going to cross-reference all of the data points that are on the profile. So this guy's not.
I was going to ask, with everybody changing their titles to more helpful, directions, instead of saying I'm a VP over marketing and sales, it's saying I help small business owners drive sales through effective marketing strategies, or, so with people changing that, how does that affect what you're doing or how this works?
So I don't really care about that change. The behavior of the person that I'm looking at is going to be on the whole profile. So when I say view similar, it's going to cross-reference with AI, the way that visualization comes back to you. So like, these people are all in Ohio now. I've cross-referenced that list of 100 with the geographic, and now I have 3 people that are potential prospects associated with someone that I looked up previously. This is really good information to know if I wanted to build a Facebook campaign or wanted to start to prospect on LinkedIn. I usually call it stalk. So
we'll just say Mark Stalker Perone.
Right, exactly. So this idea, though, is to gain traction through this process. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do is identify perfect prospects and then get actual targets that would be good for me and enter them into a database that I can then automate some activity associated with it as they move through this framework. Okay. So that the qualification phase is really important from your perspective, the marketing perspective, to get good leads to your sales group. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So we talked a little bit, and I thought about it from when we met last time. I was like, I'll just give her some of the secret sauce. I really don't care. This is kind of the way that I do it. So if you want to mimic that, I'll definitely just show you what I'm talking about later on too.
Okay.
So overall, my concept of doing business is consistently focused on lead generation, and people that don't understand what I do usually just say he generates leads. But overall, I go in and I reorganize organizations, companies, so that they are actually organizations from any level. I'd say thousands of people all the way down to the solopreneur. That's kind of the goal of the book that I wrote, that the group perspective is about doing that.
Okay. And I noticed you've got customer service on here as well. So, and they're under the trusted category.
Yeah.
So how do you work that into the overall flow? Because that'll actually become obviously they're existing customers, but you'll want to continue to resell to them. So do they go back into the flow, or do they then go into a new flow that's completely separate?
So marketing's marketing. Let's establish that first of all. Okay. Now, when we talk about campaigns, that differentiates the type of marketing in my world. Okay. Because a campaign is the same as opportunity. It's a very distinct thing. Like, it's a type of workflow inside software. The first thing I want to do is touch on customer service and what that means. Depending on the business, customer service can be one thing, it can be another, right? So the idea of customer service here is based on what CRM work can be encompassed. So for instance, if you have an RV company, and this is a company that I worked with out of Indiana, an RV or travel trailer company, their idea of customer service was actually inside sales, where an RV was sold and then the customer would come back and say, I want these accessories. They would be handled by a different group than initially sold the entire trailer or RV to them. Okay. Additionally, customer service can be problematic products or service. So something that might be getting sent back, right? So somebody calls up and they're like, hey, I got a defect. The customer service representative is on the phone in CRM taking notes about a ticket that's then going to say, okay, I'm going to email you a UPS shipping label, just send that in, and then they put that note inside CRM. So customer service can also be project management. It can be warehouse management. There's a bunch of different perspectives to look at this from, right? Okay. So yes, to answer your total question, reoccurring opportunity is a secondary sale. So you sold something once 2 months ago and you want to go retarget. The marketing perspective works on reoccurring opportunity and separates the messaging set from the initial opportunity that came in. You don't want to send like, hi, my name is Mark Perone, to somebody that's already bought from Mark Perone, right? That's not what you want to do. So your differentiation and marketing set through your campaign is represented here, even out into the lowly accounting perspective. You controllers,
They're all equals.
yeah, only one time a year for me. The marketing or the accounting perspective, I get along with it is at P&L, at end of year P&L typically, because we agree to go the same direction. Outside of that, they charge me with too much responsibility.
Well, accounting could actually incorporate some marketing to generate sales, because the accounting's sending out a bill every month or whatever the time frame is. So it's an opportunity for marketing and sales to kind of tap into to keep that, flow going and not have to like always re-engage when that person's ready.
Yeah. And that kind of brings us full circle back to the integrated software solution. So like when you have an accounting piece associated with your account management pieces, you get the best of all worlds in reality. Just some of the conversations I've had about that is when you do a software product deployment like that, you typically only have really good subject matter experts in a particular area. So like an integrated software purchase might be driven by a very good marketer, but your accounting person could be like 60 years old and want to stick to the same system that they've always known over their career. On the flip side of it, you might have a controller that, is looking for a new software because the manufacturing floor isn't accounting for all the costs. So they need something to consolidate costs in that could have a perspective of sales and marketing within it. So you have all the same data going to the same place. Follow me?
Yeah, I do.
Perfect.
Awesome.
So what do you think about all this?
I think it's awesome. I think you've outlined how the marketing sales teams work together, the different touch points that they can impact together, initially in the general marketing area. And then also even once the lead has entered the sales funnel, but not yet converted to a sale. And then incorporating customer service into the loop after the sale, just to how to continue to keep that relationship moving and just understand when they might be ready to purchase again. And all of
Mhm.
that data, all of the actions, all of the activity that happens with that one particular person or that one particular customer, all of that data is in one place. Therefore, you can look at the flow, understand what's happening, and create a better, more effective marketing campaign or better message to an existing customer that gets them to buy other products.
Oh, you're a nerd too, like me. Look at us.
We're nerds. I love data. I love strategy.
Yeah, me too. I get glazed over looks by some people who get involved in this because they're real tactical. They're just like, "Tell me what you want me to sell." I
Like, let's
appreciate it.
get you organized first. Let's get this working for you as much as we can so you don't have to do as much hard work. And then we'll figure out where you can start selling.
Yeah. So, interestingly enough, every customer I've ever had is amazed at the fact that I'm willing to base my pay on their growth past their year over year 5 year average. So if they've grown 15, 20% year over year, I will predict that they'll do an additional 20%. And if they're willing to gamble with me, I'll base my pay on it. Now it's expensive to do it that way, but I
Is it
guarantee
worth the risk?
that's how it is. So I don't mind having that conversation just based on the fact that I know if you organize yourself and you lineate and clarify handoffs so people know where their job starts and where their job finishes, it becomes very, very easy to increase top line revenue and lower operational cost at the same time, which that's the dream on the P&L statement, like increase that middle area. So
Yeah.
people just aren't used to that language yet, which I'm very, very happy to see. I love the fact there's not a lot of competition in this arena.
Not yet. Well, how many of those wagers have you made and how many have you won versus lost?
So I haven't lost yet.
How,
And
how many wagers?
so nobody has bet my actual pay on the end result. That said, I'm going to count all of them as a win because I've never missed my predicted mark. And that warehouse is a 53% increase in revenue prediction day one. I'm sorry, day one of the fiscal year to day 365 of the fiscal year, and 43% increase. So we're talking over average. So you're looking at just didn't lose a person, gain a person in the two larger instances that we're talking about. But there was a lot of buy-in. Like everybody was on what I call the quest. Like it was one win for one team, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Looks good. So have you, so what feedback have you gotten from the teams that you have worked with, kind of like the before and the after, the feedback, and then also the impact or results that you've seen as a result of this new structure in place?
So first and foremost, I typically am mired in conflict when I jump in. Nobody wants me to be around. Everyone has been so stifled by the promises that were made by the product sellers that they believe that it's just a myth. Like CRM is not for us, and we don't understand why we got it. So when I come in, it's very, very tense. There's a lot of resistance, and that's actually my favorite part of it because I know what the outcome is going to be, and ultimately, what differentiates the people that stick around for the success are the people that are left behind. Has to do with the flexibility and change orientation. If they're willing to accept that there could be another way, then they move along with us. Another big piece of this is that for a lot of companies, the definition of marketing is completely wrong. They don't understand that there's a differentiation between marketing and sales.
Mm-hmm.
And many times they don't recognize that marketing is worth the cost. So they see it as basically a money pit. And the reason why is they've always thrown their money away on, haphazardly, tactically approaching, putting messages on leaflets that they basically just throw out on the highway. And they're like, we don't understand why nobody's not engaging with them. Well, they're not in the right environment, and the messaging isn't aligned with who might pick up that piece of paper, right? So in the end, what I get is a solid, cohesive unit that is structured and organized. There's a clarification of process orientation and a relief to know at the end of the day if you were complete or incomplete with your level of activity for the day. So even when people like today, like in many companies, when I walk in, people are stressed out because they didn't know if they did their whole job, right? Like, just tomorrow I got to come back and do more of the whatever I didn't do yesterday. Well, what we do is we align this workflow so it's sequential, and that you're making progress through your activity. I'm a big believer in activity should equal progress. So we define what those tasks are and create a series of events that drive forward the lead strategy from a prospect into a close won opportunity, which leads to a customer, which then leads to a client in the secondary marketing campaigns. I can't say that IT, accounting, and sales and marketing leadership always agrees at the end. But when we look at the P&L statement, usually it's all smiles in end-of-year meetings.
That's all they care about.
Oh, well, that's what they say. And
well, as long as the P&L is looking good, right?
Right. So throughout the year,
they start pointing fingers all over again.
Yep, that's right. So throughout the year, this isn't going to work. This is an anomaly. We don't understand why you think it can be that way until you get about third quarter, and you're 3/4 of the way through the year, and you're 85% to goal. Stuff starts becoming a reality. It's like, wow, this systemization behind something that should have been a failure is actually working. And that's where I start to gain anywhere between 60% through the year to 85% through the year. It all depends on where we're tracking. So if halfway through the year, if we're 90% to goal, everyone's jumping on board. If we're 70% through the year and you're only 71% to goal, it's like, well, this might work. We'll see. So it's really dependent on what the activity shows and how your reporting is tracking for the KPIs that you put, key performance indicators that you put forth.
Sounds good. Well, where can people connect with you online?
If you go to LinkedIn, all my contact information is there. My direct email address, my cell phone number is there. I'm as available as can be available. I'm a part of Trusted.Team, which is our strategic partnering network. I'm a member of a local business networking group called H7. And I'm in a manufacturing focused strategic partnering group called Tri-State Manufacturers Resource Group that kind of brings all this stuff to light. I'm in Dayton, Ohio. So just come look for me. You'll find me.
But I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate you and your expertise in both marketing, sales, and you have that similar passion that I do for making a difference in the business overall and getting them all talking together so that they can generate better results.
Sure.
So thank you very much for joining me today and sharing your information with us.
Yep. I appreciate you having me. Good fortune.
All right. Great. Thanks, Mark. I'll talk to you soon. That was a lot of nerdy process information, wasn't it? Hey, I told you ahead of time it would be. What are your 3 takeaways? Mine are, number 1, you can leverage your CRM to automate your marketing workflow through the sales handoff process. Number 2, Mark has a mechanized workflow for salespeople, not sales managers, to give salespeople the flexibility they need for creativity in closing sales. And number 3, use the customer journey framework to identify points along the journey for various marketing and sales messages. Now, if you want to see more of the show notes and to connect with Mark, go to vickyoneil.com/38. It was a pleasure speaking with Mark and learning how companies can use CRM in a positive way. Thank you for joining me on Connect the Dots, and until next time, I'm Vicki O'Neill. Make today great.